as good as it's gonna get for me, I guess. Oh my god, my speed's so bad. Ooh.
What the rock is cooking.
Recording live from three locations.
This is Past the Rock.
I'm Patrick, and as always, I'm joined by two great men. Jacob, aka Bethke.
Hello, welcome. We're sorry, but this is the way life goes sometimes.
Yeah. We're also sort of joined by Caesar, aka LCs.
I'm assuming. Okay, I'm assuming that you've said something, and I'm here on the worst delay. I'm on like
Perfect.
dial-up speed right now.
Yeah, we are dealing with some slight technical issues. We're gonna fight through it here. Have just a blast with it. Now I gotta find my rundown again.
Yeah,
I already
just
forgot what's
now
happening.
just operate the show as if there's nothing wrong. And if Caesar can hear me well right now, I still want to encourage him to just blurt out at any moment, even if we're in the middle of a point. Because you may not know exactly when you are blurting out and when it will impact us. So just let it rip when they come.
Molotov cocktail. Yeah.
Jerking off.
Before we get to the meat of things, obviously it's a huge football weekend, both college and pros. I am gonna hit you with a couple of local notes and then one not so local note in other sports. So we'll start with the Rangers. Kind of a small story here, but we did sign a new catcher. Excuse me, Kyle Higashioka. He was Yu Darvish's catcher for a while in San Diego. And they've already pretty much said he's going to be competing with Heim for starting time.
He's taking Jonah's job. No, I read.
It's Jonah. You haven't officially lost your job yet. You got to win it, though.
So but you also might not be on this team by the trade deadline next year.
Yeah, they're going to split time, and then whoever's doing better will get the spot more permanently. So he's getting $12.5 million over 2 years, and then there's a mutual option, which I've actually never heard of before, for $1 million in 2027.
Mutual option feels like I don't know how that actually gets done. Did you mutually? Isn't the mutual agreement at that moment being signed?
It's in that off season. Yeah, it's weird, but cool. Man. I guess it's better for him than a team option. So that's kind of a smaller deal. That could be something bigger later. We'll find out. We don't know.
I appreciate the attempt.
It's something.
I talked myself into worse players last year.
Yeah. So quickly moving on from that.
As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
So the news broke this morning that Tyler Seguin is going to be out extended period of time. Going to be having hip surgery, similar to the one he had 4 years ago. He's going to be out at least 4 to 6 months, which is kind of a bittersweet type thing here. Obviously, you want him out there. He's one of the best players on the team. Makes his line better, makes the whole team better. Pretty much he was having a career year, at least a top 3 in his career year this year so far. But we do get to, when I listen back to this and the amount of times I've already said, I'm going to be so mad at myself. We're going to be able to do the trick that some other teams have been doing the last few years, where we get a bunch of bonus cap space and hopefully get him back for the playoffs anyways. I think putting him on the LTIR today clears up something like $9.85 million, which in hockey is a huge chunk. And with there being basically no difference in a lot of these top teams, that extra couple $1 million makes all the difference for trades later on in the season.
Yep.
But obviously,
well, good.
Again,
what about the hip injury? Is that's a regular thing for the hockey?
For the people
that do the hockey,
it's his second one. I think I'm trying to remember what they were calling it. I didn't know how to pronounce it now. But I think it's something where it's sort of a
Hippoherdus.
hereditary, like a genetic thing for him that probably just worse by playing hockey. And then playing through it mostly, probably what happened.
Being a hockey guy, that'll do it.
A left side FAI, femoral acetabular impingement.
Impingement. Okay,
Impingement
I've heard
I
that
can
before.
get. Femoral I've get. It's the middle word. Acetabular, ACETABULAR. Never heard of it. Don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, you're definitely not looking at a medical degree.
A cup-shaped
anywhere
structure,
behind me.
especially the socket of the hip bone. So an impingement on the hip bone, socket of the hip bone.
Fucking ow.
So that's what. Yeah. So they're hoping to have him back by the playoffs. See. The last little bit we had here, another hockey note. Former Dallas Star Matt Zuccarello got hit with a puck with a shot back on November 14th, and then a few days ago it was announced he has a ruptured testicle.
How does that?
And this guy, we got him a few years ago. He played really well for us
for
about 2 weeks, then got hurt and was just done. He's a smaller guy, so he can get hurt more, but that's just a weird one I've never heard of happening.
But you don't expect a puck to the balls to put you out for the season.
No, and they wear those really thick shorts. I don't know if they were cups or not. Probably not.
Cups are never fun, and I think that there's a reason why a lot of athletes try to get away without it. It's like 10 out of 10 bad time every time.
Okay, so it looks like there's kind of a split. Some guys do, some guys don't. Sounds like he. But kind of a weird and odd story, and feel bad for that guy because really liked him even though he left and made some money elsewhere.
There's definitely a story there. There's a lot of story there. I mean, did they have to cut it out? Is he the first guy in history? Like, what?
Yeah, I just saw it this morning. There was a story from 5 days ago. I didn't do any real follow up. Just thought it was worth pointing out as an interesting tidbit, especially considering it was a former Star.
Past the testicles.
Yeah, man, that's a rough one. But with that, we'll keep this ball rolling. A nice little bounce pass. Yeah.
Balls.
Oh, there's plenty of balls bouncing these days out into the world. We're going to refrain most of our time for talking about the ones that are oblong shape, a little bit more like right there, and usually are attributed with subconcussive impacts. But before we get to that point, we want to have a little conversation about the basketball and about where the basketball is. The non-NBA things that I will note, the draft class coming in, technically an NBA story, but this is college basketball related. Looks really fun so far. Everything just getting started there. So obviously it's too early to tell all that college basketball bullshit. But just talent all over the college landscape, both men and women's side. It looks like it could be a fun 2 draft classes for both leagues. The WNBA accidentally leaked the name of the Toronto team that should be announced soon, the Toronto Tempo.
I still think it could be It could be just short for temporary. Like it was a temporary slot that they were about to have to fill.
I feel you. I like the Tempo.
Tempo does fit with the way that the WNBA names their teams, like kids soccer teams.
It's also sort of a knockoff of Pacer, and their branding already sort of looks like it looks like the Clippers branding. So it cracks me up if everything's to be true. It really feels a little bit unimaginative, but I don't hate Tempo. I feel like for a basketball team,
not a bad name. It's just I don't know.
They do try to be very unique with theirs.
I don't think it, even though it's alliterated, Toronto Tempo is not the O to the E is a weird thing to say. Toronto Tempo.
Were you a part of the Toronto Raptors group?
I don't know what that means.
Toronto Raptors.
Embarrassing.
Instead of Raptor.
Oh, like lady, like the Baylor Lady Bears.
Yeah.
They still do that?
No, actually, well, they may. Some teams, I think,
Like,
I think it's a choice thing. I think most people like have moved to not using that terminology if possible, and some schools have eliminated it altogether. I don't remember which schools were. Anyway, all of that to say, basketball is happening all around you. Don't let the football propagandists blind you. Unless you're listening later on, then do that. Okay.
You know Baylor has a bear on campus named Lady?
I did know there was a bear on campus. I was not aware of its name.
Would have made calling yourselves the Lady Bears a little bit more respectable, but they don't have that name anymore.
Yeah, no. When I was a little kid, I remember we would do there would be some tours to the Baylor place to see the little bear and then the old stadium and stuff. It was on separate parts of Waco, but it's not a big area, so you could just take everybody to both at the same day.
Then you gotta visit the Dr. Pepper Museum. Then you gotta visit the Texas Ranger Museum.
Texas Ranger Museum's interesting, but then like that's weird history. Texas Sports Hall of Fame in Waco. That one's cool.
How much of the Texas Ranger Museum is history, and how much of it is?
Well, look, they're not highlighting it, but your boy can't quite take out all of the context that he already has in his brain. And then the Sports Hall of Fame, though, really, Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And if you've got kids, there's a museum Baylor put together, the Mayborn. That shit is crazy, too. So.
Still more interested in the Dr. Pepper thing.
Dr. Pepper one's interesting, but you go once and you're pretty much just like...
To be able to get they would serve you like an old like soda fountain style Dr. Pepper. So it's like Coke syrup level Coke carbonation level with Dr. Pepper syrup.
That's the only part of the tour I would go, and you don't have to go to the tour to do that. You can just go in there and buy one.
Now that I can't get Dublin Dr. Pepper, best thing I can get.
Yeah, so there you go. And then the silos are not far away from that, so you can just do all the Waco stuff.
That's gonna be with the Salt Lake City WNBA team, the silos.
If Salt Lake gets an NBA team, so we're here to talk about the IST a little bit in the basketball world.
In the NBA Cup?
The NBA Cup.
Is it
the
still called
it's
the IST?
Yes, it is the IST. It's still the IST. They may not call it that, but it's the in-season tournament, so it'll always be the IST.
Yeah, I was just asking if officially is it just the Cup?
Yeah, it's still just a cup. I mean, you got Emirates right there for you to get that sponsor money.
Uh-huh.
Have you also seen the logos in modern NBA courts? Have you been? I know you're not watching a ton of basketball right now, but have you at least seen the courts?
I went to 2 games at the start of the year.
No. You got to watch the TV product for this.
Oh, they're doing like the hockey digital style.
Oh, Patrick, it's bad.
Yeah,
there's about 5 or 6 at a time now. It's gotten really bad.
The hockey ones are annoying too because it's on the boards and it'll like move.
At least there's more surface area, I guess.
That's true.
This is incredible how much space they're wasting.
It's not like they're leaving space, like.
Well, and then now
you're on the ice though, the same way. They're
not
doing it like that. Yeah, sorry.
But now you have these broadcasts that are trying to do the 2K broadcast for the IST. So now you just have a cluster. I mean, you have idiocracy levels of clusterfuck happening.
It's like watching a NASCAR, but on.
It's bad, dude, and it's so funny how the NBA continues to do that. Like as we were kind of talking about with the popularities of stuff, it's
not hurting
more about how
it's actually helping. So
yeah, how leagues run themselves. It confuses me. I don't know if we mentioned it yet this year, but there is talk about them pushing this thing back to start in Christmas Day. So that's nice.
The season or just the cup?
The IST. No, keep the season the way it is because really it's the same reason baseball will never change. Profits, and there is I do think a stylist. Like I think for the baseball programs, for the basketball programs, they do feel like it's necessary to run these things this much. I think for basketball, you could shorten it to 60, but money is.
I'm not even saying you have to shorten it. Just push it back. take away some off days.
I mean, it would be nice because you could maybe potentially look at ending the season
It would just
at the end of
separate it.
summer.
It
But the problem with
just separates it from hockey. So if you are a fan of multiple sports, it gives you a chance to actually follow everything.
they're not moving out of hockey's way because they beat
Well,
in their way they
I
beat
mean, yeah, that's
hockey.
not-
So you know that
Yeah,
the NBA
that's
won't.
not a
'Cause,
question for them, but
yeah,
they are losing a
won't.
lot of early season eyeballs to college and pro football. So
I really think the biggest
and
stopper, hard
the
stop.
freaking World Series was happening when the NBA was happening.
I think the biggest, with the start of it for sure is always going to be sort of just muted. It's more of a hey, here it is, Yeah, because the problem I think there's too many people from executives to front office to league office to the players that really love that every year in June they start a 2-month long, break, depending on who you are. Some players and some executives and scouts and stuff don't get that leverage. But for a lot of them, there is that summer break built in, and that really works well with the families and stuff. So I think more than anything, that would be the thing that would keep it from moving. But anyway, the IST is back. This year we have a fun group. I guess last year was fine. You had a few teams that were competitive. You had a couple of weird young teams that snuck in, but we ended up with the Pacers Lakers. That seemed like a cool matchup, only for the Pacers to sort of fall flat. We also got Zion versus LeBron last year.
Finals.
Yeah, I mean they did, they did, and the Lakers didn't quite go as far, but I mean the Lakers were a more talented team last year than we probably thought they were going into the season. So it was a good start, right? We now have the prestigious champion Lakers that have hung their first IST banner. So now all of these teams sort of have an obligation, and really, if I'm being honest and biased, this is what I'm most interested in. Which of these teams, should they win, would break tradition as it is now set,
And
or
hang a banner.
will they hang the similar banner? I mean, I think the Lakers, jokes
Golden
aside,
State's the
did
only
it
one
the
I could
right
see
way.
not doing it, but then also they've got they'd also just do it because they just do what the Lakers did. I would think
Precisely,
the
and I
other
think
teams could use some more banners.
exactly, and I think that's why it's easy to do, and it's not the same banner. I think that's the stupid thing you could do. That's the worst thing you could do. That's the most Atlanta Hawks thing you could do in this situation. That feels like the team that was most likely to do it of this group. It feels like you should really be smart about how you do it. The Lakers put a different one up, and they just put a year, and they were like, look, we'll win more ISTs down the road. Who knows? 20 years from now, we may look back at that thing and there's only one IST, and maybe they look goofy, but I think that was the right policy. So given this, I think the Hawks would be the team that would maybe break tradition and do a full banner for 1 year. But I think the appropriate measure is to just put one general IST champion banner and do that. I think there's teams that should do that with their conference banner. Like, we've seen division banners up in the rafters all the time. Like even the AAC, there's division banners up there.
The Spurs have them, I'm sure too.
Yeah, dude. I don't like that at all.
Divisions used to actually, before they were when they were actually like 10. I don't know. They were bigger divisions at one point, so it kind of felt like it was something. But I see what you're saying. It would be nice to stack them.
Yeah.
Is points the tiebreaker that got Mavericks in?
Yes, the Mavericks had an exciting night last night. Actually, they snuck in. They snuck in because they won the game by more than 4 points, and I don't remember who they ended up blocking out of it, but they were losing to Memphis in the fourth quarter last night. They end up drawing back into that one,
point
and then
differential. That must
point differential is the difference.
But even
there.
then, 4 points doesn't make a difference there.
I don't know. They snuck in for that reason. Your Spurs were eliminated last night because they kind of got pummeled a little bit.
Well, so the Suns were the other 3-1 team. The Mavs definitely scored more points, had a 16-point higher differential. I don't know. I'll have to look up what the tiebreaker there.
Yeah, so they got in over Phoenix, right? That was how it was. It doesn't matter. I mean, KD's hurt, so this would be a bad time to put Phoenix on the stage.
Phoenix was the other 3-1 team out of the West.
So yeah, so obviously we will not have a repeat champion. You have the Bucks who started off terribly, they're looking good. The Knicks who started off mediocre, they're looking much better. The Magic look good, but they're still without Paolo. So really, this is just a bunch of young guys. Any given night, they could look really good and they could get blown out by 20. The Hawks are a funny team. I think they're a team full of really talented players and not full of a lot of give a fuck about the game of basketball or the team basketballs. There's just a lot of give a fuck. I think they're missing there. Oklahoma City, obviously they're solid, but they're missing Chet still, and the Mavericks have been a complete thorn in their side for the better part of a year or so now, maybe even a little bit longer if we want to date it back. They've only been competitive for about a year and a half, so we'll give it that.
Do these teams have games between now and then? I would assume they do.
Yeah, so they just fit into the schedule that way, and then they'll remake everything. So yeah, it's not like the whole thing comes into pause, but I think for one weekend, I think there's just
like the two semifinal losers will just get an extra game against each other at the end of the year. Is that how that works?
Yeah, not even the end of the year. I think they just schedule that as soon as they can squeeze it in.
Oh, okay. So it's not a pre-scheduled like this.
Well, some of them, yeah. Actually, no, that's what they did there last year. They did have these teams compete on the same day, and they just had this makeup day that they squeezed in on, I think, a Friday or some shit. But yeah, so it'll be a funnest. Rockets are going to be an interesting. Honestly, I think the Rockets are a really fun sleeper team because they're just the right kind of, like the Lakers last year, team for the moment. I think the Bucks could really make this a big situation to put themselves into a category. And I do think it would be a good opportunity for the Mavericks to sort of assert their dominance. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mavs. Actually, fuck it. We'll just transition into the little toast of Mavericks and Spurs before we move on altogether. Because as you guys can see from that, the IST is going to be, 10th through 11th. We're going to have the quarterfinals. December 14th, they're going to have the semifinals. I think it is December 14th is when they'll end up the teams that lose will play games as well. And then December 17th, I believe, is a solo by itself game on that night, league-wide. You can double-check that. And that's back in Vegas, obviously, where it will probably stay, at least until there's a Vegas expansion team, in which maybe they'll start doing it a little differently, depending on when it is in the season and all that crap. So that's your IST breakdown. IST round 2, Electric Boogaloo commences. We will follow this mildly, lackadaisically, as it progresses throughout the month via both the weekly Hoopla, which did post today with some gambling odds for those degenerates, and some funny clips of JJ Redick as he slowly tries to understand the task at hand when it comes to leading the Los Angeles Lakers. I know most people are missing JJ's podcast, but I've got to say, if you're not tuning into the post-game press conferences, you are missing out on some pretty funny body language, reactions. There's a lot of chaos going over there for old JJ boy. All included in the Hoopla this week. Find that on a YouTube near you.
Except for in Russia.
And possibly Belarus with that one. I forget if that one got the
No,
Belarus.
I don't think so.
Nice. Shout out Belarus. All right. Snapshots of the two teams that we watch. The Texas two-step, if we will. The Dallas Mavericks. 14-8 overall, 10-6 in conference. Both of those are awesome, especially since Luka missed some time. There was a couple of stupid losses there. All in all, you kind of like to see where the Mavericks are at. You're still waiting on Dante Exum. Otherwise, looks like a fun team. Looks like there's still some tradable pieces to this group if you want to make it better. So everything's on schedule there. Only controversy going on in Mavs land is, did Luka fake an injury to get healthy and in shape? And to which my only answer is, who cares? He's back in shape. So let's just enjoy that. Because in my opinion, and I have not looked into it, read into it, but he was noticeably slimmer when he got back.
He go hit an inpatient or something.
Dude, he was noticeably more toned and
back on those Ljubljana's.
So yeah, I don't know what the truth
Did he
is.
take Ozempic?
He might have taken Ozempic. He might have taken Ozempic.
I wonder. I don't know enough about what that actually does to imagine if that's just going to ruin your physical activity.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's probably a better version of Ozempic that's not even released to the general community. They just
Like if you're an actor, it's one thing. If you're trying to perform at a peak physical level, it probably.
no. Honestly, I think there's an easier answer. I think the fact that he is as talented as he
trash
is,
bag and some jogging.
yeah, I think that he just really is young enough still to fluctuate like this successfully. Let's see him
I was
keep
gonna
it
say,
up in his
Zion's
older
still
years.
fluctuating.
So let's see how he gets into his later years and into his 30s and see how that goes. Los Spurs 11-10 overall, so that's good,
Yeah.
above average. 10-10 in conference. That looks mediocre on paper.
Were they in the conference?
10-10 in conference. I double checked myself.
We've only played one Eastern Conference team. all year.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, look, this looks mediocre in theory, but honestly, when you paint it in that light, hey, that's
How is
pretty
that
good.
possible?
Dude, the NBA scheduling committee
I
has to
bet-
have
I
an
bet the
awful life.
rodeo road trip probably has just loaded with Eastern Conference.
Oh, probably, yeah.
And I guess
But
you
yeah.
have cup games that eliminates. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Spurs magically have played, and honestly, I thought back to it and I was like, damn, that's true. I don't even know who the Eastern Conference team was because at this point, was it Washington?
I'm looking back through. I hate the way everyone. Golden State, Utah, Dallas, LA, Washington Wizards.
It was Washington. I thought I remembered
Was
them.
that the Wemby 50-point night?
Yeah, I was about to say. I was pretty sure that was. That's hilarious. Yeah. So I mean, there you go. It's been a very Western season for the Spurs, but they've mostly been well. So now that the crappy Eastern Conference is on the schedule and on the menu, that should really help. Yeah, especially playing Washington as your only win is so much funnier. Washington's like lost like 11 in a row or something. Like
They're like 2-15 or something.
yeah, Washington's sneaky about to maybe already be in line to break Detroit's record
For the worst team ever.
for the losing streak. I mean, I'm not sure, but we're monitoring the situation.
Oh, and you know what? Spurs also have the 2 games, the Pacers in France. So there's a bunch of
Right.
stuff on their schedule.
Yeah.
The rodeo road trip this year is Memphis, Atlanta, Charlotte, Orlando, Washington, Boston.
So one team that should be in the East and the rest East teams.
You're saying Memphis shouldn't be in the East?
They should be in the East. They're in the same
Oh, they're
conference as
not.
the Spurs.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I get it.
It gets weird around the Mississippi. The Cowboys are in the East. The Rangers are in the West. They play right next to each other. So in my head, that's where it changes.
Yeah, no, I
also grew up with the Tampa Bay Bucks being in the NFC Central Division, so
no, I
weirdness.
trust me, there is a lot of decisions that have been made, and as funny as it makes it seem, 2 more teams may be a weird decision, but it will actually make the NBA far more logical. Oh, hello. Far more logical than it ever has been for the scheduling.
Yeah, just wait till they add Hawaii, though.
I think that it's fair to say that we're about to be at max expansion for all pro leagues. I'm very pessimistic about the continued expansion of all the pro leagues.
You just keep expanding, then you can open up relegation.
You could, but I still am weary of the future generations and their love for sports, and I do still have a little pause to that and wonder if sports hasn't maximized already.
Probably, yeah, probably
in that world. I mean, it's a argument, obviously.
Esports probably going to be coming in.
It just feels like it's more of it's just the whole monoculture thing, right? It's that we're breaking down a lot of the you have to be this and you have to follow through this, and it's like our generation grew up with that, but then we were able to really advance it, make a lot of money off of it for companies. Not obviously us in particular, but as a part of this bigger pool. I mean, these companies made a lot of money. ESPN and stuff like Barstool have made a lot of money off of our generation still loving sports the way our parents did and whatnot. But there's a great argument to be said that may not continue with the generation that grew up with the internet and with all of the options that the internet brings.
Right. Yeah. We lived through I couldn't get enough. Now all of a sudden I have everything, but they didn't have that. I couldn't get enough.
Exactly. So we'll have to expect something. Again, I don't know. I don't want to be Chicken Little about it either, but I do think that for as far as expansion goes,
you know how waves work. So
yeah, I just think that as far as expansion goes, the NBA may be seriously risking itself going out 2 more. But then I think the argument will be that it's a much easier scheduling situation.
The long game is what they're trying to build with international, like NBA Europe or whatever, NBA Africa, and
I still think it's
a world tournament of the best teams from all this.
Yes,
NBAs.
Yes, I agree that that's still like long-term goal, but I think that's so hyper unrealistic in anyone's near future that it'd be frivolous to look at. I think you look at expansion as the answer to the competitive issue for the season, because we're going to test the theory that these basketball players and their coaches have been going with, and that they're overworked and over-traveled. You know, I mean, we will have 4 teams a conference. You know what I mean? We will have the ability to do the in-season tournament. It will probably go to a system similar to baseball and football where we know it's not everybody play everybody all the time. In those ways, that's where I think the NBA can really save itself a lot of grief. And maybe that's the answer long-term to the NBA's competitive problem or entertainment problem with the first half of the season, is just simply giving these teams a more logical schedule every season that's easier to follow for fans, you know, all of that good shit. So we shall see. That's pretty much it for the basketball talk here. We've got so much football to attempt to get to. We'll get you the college, Fozen. We can promise we're going to get you college. When it gets to the pros, your regularly scheduled Eagles propaganda may or may not come through. We at this point do not know.
All right. Well, here we'll take a quick break.
I'm confident every day.
Very
to be
good.
honest.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You appreciate his compliment?
Say again.